Heavy rain and strong winds hit the east coast of Australia as Storm Alfred brings warnings of dangerous flash flooding in Queensland and New South Wales.
What was forecast to be a cyclone has been downgraded to a tropical low, but authorities warn the worst is still to come.
Heavy rain and strong winds have hit part of Australia's east coast after Cyclone Alfred was downgraded to a storm. Hundreds of thousands of homes are without food, power and flood warnings remain in place. Our Australia correspondent Katie Watson is in Brisbane, where authorities have warned people not to be complacent.
People here in Brisbane went to sleep bracing for a cyclone, woke up to be told it was downgraded to a tropical low, that the heavy winds they'd escape them here in Brisbane. But it hasn't stopped the rain coming in, and we've just been down to the Gold Coast about an hour or so away, and there's really strong winds. There are hundreds of trees down, emergency services cordoning off areas of risk. There are power lines down as well, so it's still pretty intense down there. In fact, earlier today, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the worst is still to come.
While it has been downgraded, very serious risks remain. So it is important that people do not take this downgrading as a reason for complacency. Its impact will be serious and will intensify over coming hours and indeed over coming days.
Hundreds of thousands of people are still without power, and the floodwaters now are what people are concerned about. In fact, it still hasn't made landfall. It's been hovering around the north of the city at a very slow pace. It's doing a loop-the-loop, and that's the concern. The prolonged rainfall and hovering around means that the floodwaters, there's much more risk of flooding in low-lying areas. But the next 24 to 48 hours are crucial to understand the damage brought by this extreme weather.
Katie Watson reporting there.
Yes, and someone's going to pick up on some of those conditions in Australia now. Tell us more.
Yeah, so it's that wobbling around that Katie was talking about, which means that it's very slow moving just to the east of Australia. And you can see this is the satellite image of it. It has weakened, so it's no longer a tropical cyclone, but it's still a severe storm. Still bringing some very strong winds. But I think the main concern about the storm is actually not necessarily the wind, but the rain, which is going to last a number of days. Around Brisbane, Gold Coast was Byron Bay. You could see in excess of maybe 100 millimetres, well, widely in excess of 100 millimetres, could be up to 700 millimetres in some parts. So, yeah, it's the flooding over the next few days that is the major concern to the eastern side of Australia. So we're keeping a close eye on that. We'll obviously get more reports as we go through the next few days with that rainfall and increase in flooding.
To Australia now, where 36 Defence Force personnel were injured while trying to help communities hit by a tropical storm. Storm Alfred, which battered a stretch of the eastern coast, has now been downgraded from a cyclone, but hundreds of thousands of homes have been left without power. Here's Katie Watson.
Get out.
It wasn't the cyclone everyone was expecting, but this corner of Australia got pummeled all the same. Homes pulled apart, trees down. On Saturday, the wind remained strong and the rain came in. Where possible, repairs began.
You know the old saying, there's no use crying over spilt milk, you know? You just have to do what you can and on to the next. Yeah, can't change it, it's happened.
The body of a man who was washed away on Friday was also recovered, the victim of powerful floodwater in northern New South Wales.
For days, Australians here along the coast were bracing for the arrival of Cyclone Alfred. Now, it may have been downgraded, but you can see here the weather conditions are still pretty extreme.
This is usually a surfer's dream, golden sand and long open beaches. But the coast has been eaten away by the big waves. Cyclone Alfred was described by many as an unwanted dinner guest, but he never turned up, although authorities warned against complacency.
Now, while it has been downgraded, very serious risks remain. Its impact will be serious and will intensify over coming hours and indeed over coming days.
And in one of the most vulnerable communities of Lismore, another setback. 36 military personnel injured while helping with relief efforts. It's understood that one military vehicle overturned and was then hit by another. Several people are believed to be in a critical condition. The ex-cyclone has taken its time to make landfall, but its lingering has prolonged the bad weather. Airports hope to reopen on Sunday, but getting back to some kind of normality will take much longer. Katie Watson, BBC News in Queensland.